The first thing I heard when my husband answered the phone was ching ching ching. I was lying in a hospital bed, the paper-thin blanket doing nothing to stop the cramping that felt like my insides were being torn out. The DNC procedure was over. The baby I had wanted for 5 years, the baby I had fought for through 2 rounds of IVF, was officially gone. I needed him. I needed my husband, Oren. He was at a crucial work conference, but I needed to hear his voice. Oren, I whispered. The slot machine sounds got louder, and then I heard it, a high-pitched, girlish giggle right next to his ear. Oren, my voice cracked. I lost the baby. There was a long, heavy pause. I heard him mumble, "Hold on," to someone else. Then his voice came back, cold and annoyed. "Winslet, can this wait? I'm in a crucial meeting right now. You're really being a downer." The line clicked. He hung up on me. "My name is Winslet. I'm 38 years old, and I'm an OB/GYN nurse. I spend every day of my life helping women. And on the day I lost my own child, my husband of 10 years chose a slot machine and a giggle over me." I stared at the blank phone screen, the silence of the room roaring, the grief, the pain, it all just vanished. And something else, something cold and sharp, took its place. I didn't cry. The tears just dried up. My nurse brain, the part of me that takes over during a code, just snapped on. My hands, which had been shaking, were suddenly rock steady. I reached for my laptop from the rolling tray table. "Crucial meeting," I whispered to the empty room. My fingers flew across the keyboard. I logged into our joint credit card account. There it was. The most recent charge, posted 30 minutes ago. Bellagio Resort and Casino, Las Vegas. Charge, $4,800. Room service and suite. My heart wasn't pounding. It was just beating, slow and methodical. I opened Instagram. His account was private, but he was always so careless about tags. I clicked on the Tag Photos tab, and there he was. A photo posted just 1 hour ago by a user named Feifei Baby. It was Oren, his face flushed with alcohol, grinning like a fool. His arm was wrapped tightly around a 22-year-old in a tiny, glittering sequin dress. She was tagged simply as Faye. The location tag? Bellagio, Las Vegas. The caption was a final twist of the knife. Living my best life with my one true love. Hashtag Vegas, hashtag blessed, hashtag king. I took a screenshot. I saved the image. He wasn't just at a conference. He was on a romantic vacation, paid for with our money, while I was in surgery. My phone buzzed. A new text from Oren. "Listen, something's come up. This conference is extending. Might be a few more days. Don't wait up." I looked at the text. I looked at the picture of him and Faye. I looked at the $4,800 charge for a luxury suite. I looked at my own discharge papers sitting on the bedside table, the ones that listed post-operative bleeding as a side effect. He was sloppy. He was so breathtakingly arrogant, so sure that I was just the quiet, sad, easygoing wife at home, that he didn't even bother to cover his tracks. He thought I was weak. He thought I was broken by grief. He had no idea that the woman he just hung up on was not the same woman who had dialed his number. I felt my pulse, steady and strong. I picked up my phone. I could have sent him the screenshot. I could have raged, but I didn't. I typed 2 words, understood. "Handle your business." His reply was instant, just as I knew it would be. "Thanks for being so easygoing. You're the best." I read his text, and a plan began to form, cold and precise. He was about to find out just how easygoing I was. I remember the conversation from 2 years ago, like it was yesterday. Oren had come into our kitchen, all smiles and expensive cologne, kissing my temple as I paid bills. He had his brilliant idea voice on. "Let's put everything in your name, baby," he'd said, his tone smooth as butter. "The house, the business line of credit, even my new car lease. It's for tax asset protection. You're the responsible one, the one with the perfect credit. I just make the money." I remembered feeling so proud. He trusted me. We were a real team. I'd signed every paper he put in front of me, my nurse's signature neat and careful. Now, sitting in that sterile room, the smell of antiseptic burning my nose, I finally saw the truth. It wasn't trust. It was arrogance. He wasn't protecting our assets. He was insulating himself. He saw me as Winslet, the simple, controllable nurse, the easygoing wife who would never check the accounts, never question his business, and never, ever have the guts to do anything about it. He never saw the woman who ran a chaotic OBGYN floor, who could spot a critical lie from a patient 10 feet away. In his sloppy arrogance, he hadn't just given me a shield. He had handed me the entire arsenal. My plan was forming, a perfect, sterile checklist. I was still in my hospital gown, the intravenous port still taped to my hand, but I felt a surge of adrenaline I hadn't felt in years. I picked up my phone. My first call wasn't to a friend or my mother. It was to the finance company that handled his car. Yes, hello, I said. My voice was calm and professional, the one I used to update surgeons. My name is Winslet. I am the primary lessee on a 2024 BMW M8 license plate. I gave them the stupid, vain plate number he was so proud of, or in love. I continued, I need to report the vehicle as unauthorized. The current driver, my husband, does not have my permission to be in possession of it. The woman on the line paused. Ma'am, can you confirm the location of the vehicle? I can, I said, looking at the credit card charge again. It is currently at the valet of the Bellagio Resort and Casino in Las Vegas, Nevada. The woman's tone shifted from corporate to cheerful. Oh, the Bellagio? That's perfect. Our recovery team loves Vegas. It's so easy. She told me a tow truck would be dispatched within the hour. Thank you, I said and hung up. That was step one. I pictured his face, drunk and confused, when he and Faye handed their valet ticket over, only to be told their car was gone. The repo call was done. Step one. I felt no satisfaction, just a cold, steady hum. What next? The car was leased, but the money, that was different. My mind went to our joint savings. We called it the Future Fund. It was the account I'd poured my overtime checks into, the money we'd saved for 5 years. It was for IVF, for a nursery, for the baby we wanted so badly. It was supposed to have over $50,000 in it. My fingers trembled just a little as I typed in the password. The page loaded. The balance, $15.30. $15.30? I couldn't breathe. I thought it was a mistake, a glitch. But then I saw the transfer history. A single wire transfer. Amount, $50,000. My eyes scanned for the date. Yesterday afternoon. I checked the clock, my mind racing back. Yesterday afternoon. I was in surgery. I was under anesthesia in the OR, having the DNC. While I was lying on that table, physically losing our child, he was at a bank, wiring our entire future away. The blood drained from my face. This wasn't just cheating. This was a new level of evil. This was a theft so personal it felt like he had ripped something else out of me. I clicked on the transfer details. I expected to see his name or a holding company, but the recipient wasn't Oren. It was a name I'd never seen before. Faye's Future, LLC. Faye, the 22-year-old from Instagram. He hadn't even tried to hide it. He'd wired our baby's money directly to his mistress. I opened a new tab and Googled the company name. It was a brand new business registration, filed just 2 weeks ago. The business type was listed as social media influencer and lifestyle brand. I felt a bitter laugh rise in my throat. He didn't just take our money to spend it. He stole the $50,000 we had saved for a family and gave it to his 22-year-old girlfriend to fund her influencer career. He was building a new life with her, using the bricks of the one he was destroying with me. The sheer audacity of it, the calculated cruelty, was breathtaking. He hadn't just left me. He had emptied me in every way a person could. He was paying for her future with my past. There was a soft knock. My friend Maria, one of the best nurses on my floor, peeked in. Hey hon, just heard. I'm so sorry. I brought you some real tea. Not this hospital. She stopped when she saw my face. She didn't see grief. She saw a storm. Winslet? What's wrong? What happened? I didn't say anything. I just turned the laptop screen toward her. She read the bank transfer. She saw the Instagram photo. Her face, usually so warm, hardened into something I'd only seen her use on abusive husbands in the maternity ward. That he didn't. He did, I said, while I was in the OR. Maria sat down hard on the visitor's chair. What's the plan? She asked. She didn't ask if I was okay. She knew I was past that. The car is being repossessed from the Bellagio right now, I said. She nodded. Good. What's next? I picked up my phone. The credit cards. I dialed the number on the back of our joint card. Hi. I need to report all of my cards as stolen. Yes, all of them. And I need to immediately remove an authorized user. The name is Owaryen. I was still on the line with the credit card agent when my phone buzzed with another text from Oren. He must have just tried to buy another round of drinks for Faye and her friends. The text read, Hey, weird. My card got declined at the hotel bar. Must be a glitch. Can you call them? I looked at the text message. I looked at Maria, who was watching me with a small, grim smile. And for the first time in 24 hours, I smiled back. It was a cold, sharp smile, but it was real. The credit card agent was saying, Okay, ma'am, all cards have been canceled and Mr. Oren has been removed from the account. Thank you, I said and hung up. I picked up my phone to text Oren back. My fingers were perfectly steady. So sorry, must be bad service here at the hospital. My discharge is taking forever. I'll try to call them when I get a chance. I hit send. Let him sweat. Let him wonder why his easygoing wife wasn't jumping to fix his problems. Let him stand there at the bar, humiliated, with no money. It was a start. Maria left to get my discharge papers. I was alone again. But the cold focus was stronger now. I was on a mission. I opened TikTok. I searched for Feifei Baby. Her account was public, of course. She had 50,000 followers. Her latest video had been posted just 1 hour ago. I clicked play. It was them, Oren and Faye, in a helicopter, flying over the Las Vegas Strip at night. Faye was holding the camera, screaming with delight. My man treats me like the queen I am, she yelled over the sound of the rotors. He said, Anything you want, baby. The camera panned to Oren. He was drunk, his face red, his eyes glassy. He leaned into the camera and laughed, a loud, ugly sound. That's right, he shouted. My boring-ass wife has no idea, huh? I felt the blood rush to my head. Boring-ass wife. He said it. He laughed about it. I hit screen record immediately. I saved the video. I saved it twice. This wasn't just proof of adultery. This was proof of his character. This was the voice a judge needed to hear. He had no idea. But he was about to. The hospital discharged me an hour later. Maria gave me a tight hug, her eyes saying everything her words couldn't. Call me if you need anything, she said, and I knew she meant it. I drove myself home, my movements robotic. I walked into the house, and the silence was deafening. The first thing I saw was the mail on the hall table, a catalog for baby furniture I'd subscribed to. I walked past the spare room, the one we painted a soft, hopeful yellow, its door slightly ajar. I could see the edge of the rocking chair Oren had put together last weekend. I should have shattered. I should have fallen to the floor and sobbed. But the cold, hard thing inside me just got colder and harder. I didn't cry. I walked to my home office, sat in my chair, and Googled the most ruthless divorce attorney in the city, the one our hospital's chief of surgery had used. I called her office. I need an emergency consultation today, I said, my voice void of emotion. My husband committed wire fraud, transferring $50,000 from a joint account to his mistress while I was in surgery for a miscarriage. I have proof of the transfer, and I have video of him admitting he's deceiving me. The receptionist put me on hold for 10 seconds. The lawyer herself came on the line. Cancel my 1 o'clock. Meet me in 1 hour. I sat in a plush leather chair in a high-rise office, my hospital bracelet still on my wrist. The lawyer, a sharp woman named Ms. Hayes, looked at me with assessing eyes. I didn't look like a victim. I looked like a client. I laid out the tax asset protection documents Oren had me sign. Ms. Hayes reviewed them, her expression shifting from neutral to a small, predatory smile. Mr. Oren was both arrogant and stupid, she said, tapping the papers. He put everything in your name to protect himself from creditors. never imagining you would be one. She confirmed it. The house was 100% in my name. His entire consulting business, which I now suspected was a sham, was funded by a business line of credit. A line of credit that I, as the primary asset holder, had co-signed for and secured against my house. He can't make payroll next week without you, Ms. Winslet, she said. In fact, he can't do anything. That was all I needed to hear. I picked up my phone right there in her office and called the bank. Hi, I'm calling to freeze my business line of credit, account number. I read the number from the document. Effective immediately. No further withdrawals are to be authorized. We were just starting to draft the divorce petition when my phone exploded with calls. It was Orrin. After the third call, Ms. Hayes nodded. Answer it. Put it on speaker. I tapped the screen. The voice that came through was not the smooth, annoyed man from the hospital. It was a high-pitched, panicked yell. Winslet, what the hell is going on? The hotel is saying my cards are all declined. Every single one. They're threatening to call security. They think I'm a fraud. I leaned back in my chair. Miss Hayes was listening intently. Orrin, I said, my voice as calm and cool as a steel tray. I'm so glad you called. I'm actually sitting in my lawyer's office right now. You'll never guess what we were discussing. I paused, letting him hang there. We were just admiring your tax asset protection plan. And I have to say, Orrin, it's working perfectly. All our assets are completely protected. There was a stunned silence on the other end of the line. I could hear his shallow, panicked breathing. You, he stammered. You did this? You canceled the cards? He sounded like a child. I did. I confirmed, my voice still perfectly level. I couldn't risk my boring-ass wife, identity being used for fraudulent charges. It's just good asset protection, you know? His breathing got faster. You witch. You're trying to strand me. Don't be dramatic, Orrin, I said. You're a resourceful man. By the way, the hotel won't be your only problem. You should probably head down to the valet soon. What? Why? What did you do now? I also canceled the lease on the BMW, the one registered in my name, with the Orrin Love plates. I let that sink in. A tow truck should be at the Bellagio Valet within the hour to repossess it. I'm sure it will be very discreet. I heard a small, strangled noise. You and Faye might want to find a bus, I said. Goodbye, Orrin. I hung up the phone. Miss Hayes just looked at me. Well, she said, picking up her pen. Let's get to the fraud complaint. My phone lit up again. This time, it was a notification from Instagram. Faye was live. I clicked it. My screen filled with her tear-streaked, heavily filtered face. She was in the Bellagio lobby, filming a furious Orrin who was yelling at the front desk staff. This crazy psycho nurse at Winslet RN is stalking us. Faye cried into her phone. She's obsessed. She's trying to ruin our lives just because her husband fell in love with me. She's crazy. I watched, disgusted. But then, I saw the comments flooding her live feed. Maria had been busy. My nurse friends, my colleagues, even some of the doctors I worked with were unleashing hell. She's not stalking you. She's at home recovering from a miscarriage, one comment flew by. Another, he stole their baby fund to be with you. You homewrecker. And another, enjoy the $50,000 he stole from his IVF savings. Faye. The tide turned instantly. Faye's eyes widened as she read the comments. Her followers weren't sending sympathy. They were sending rage. She looked at the camera, her mask of victimhood crumbling. What miscarriage? She stammered, before abruptly ending the live video. The next day, Ms. Hayes called me with an update. She'd hired a forensic accountant. Winslet, I hope you're sitting down, she said. Orrin's consulting business isn't just a business. It's a shell. It's barely breathing. I gripped the phone. What do you mean? He hasn't had a real client in over a year, she said. He's been living entirely off that business line of credit, the one secured against your house. He's been bleeding it dry for months, all while you were picking up extra shifts at the hospital. I thought of all those doubles, all the holidays I worked, thinking I was helping us save up. My blood ran cold. Where did the money go? I asked, though I already knew. Small transfers at first, Ms. Hayes said, then larger ones, all to untraceable gift cards. or to Faye's new LLC. The $50,000 from the baby fund was just the big finale. He was planning his exit. That conference wasn't just a trip, Winslet. He was leaving you for good. He was just trying to steal as much as possible before he went. The last piece of the puzzle clicked into place. The betrayal was so much deeper than I could have imagined. My phone rang again an hour later. It was a number I didn't recognize. "Is this Winslet?" a man's voice asked. "This is Alex, Oren's business partner." I immediately tensed, but his voice was shaking with anger. "Oren just called me, screaming his head off that the line of credit is frozen and he can't make payroll." I had no idea what he was talking about, or what he's done. "What did he tell you?" I asked, my voice low. "He told me you two were separating amicably. He said you were taking a break, and he was handling the finances. He's been cooking the books for 6 months, Winslet. He's been writing off his trips with that girl as client expenses. I'm out. I'm done." I listened as he told me everything. He was a decent man, and Oren had played him for a fool, too. "I'm sending you and my lawyer every file I have," Alex said, his voice hard. "Every email, every fake invoice. I'm not going down with him. Take him down, Winslet. Please." I hung up the phone with a new, powerful ally and a folder full of evidence. 2 days later, my video doorbell chimed. I was on the sofa, wrapped in a blanket, sorting through the files Alex had sent. I looked at the monitor. There he was, Oren. He wasn't the slick, smiling man from Faye's Instagram. His suit was crumpled. He hadn't shaved. He'd clearly taken a taxi from the airport, not his prized BMW. He looked tired, pathetic, and furious. He walked up to the front door and tried his key. I heard the clink as it failed to turn in the new lock I'd had installed yesterday. He tried again, jiggling it, his confusion turning to panic. "Winslet," he yelled, banging on the door with the side of his fist. "Let me in. I know you're in there. We can talk about this. This is my house." I watched him on the screen. I saw the vein pulsing in his neck. I calmly picked up my cup of tea and took a sip. I didn't move. I didn't make a sound. I just watched him beat his fists against the door I paid for. His banging grew more frantic, then stopped. My phone immediately started ringing. It was him, calling from the front porch like a beggar. I let it ring twice, then answered, putting it on speaker. "You've ruined me," he screamed, his voice cracking with rage and desperation. "You've ruined everything. My car is gone. My accounts are frozen. Faye left me in Vegas. You've destroyed my life." I listened to his tantrum, my own voice flat and cold when I finally spoke. "No, Oren, you ruined us." I stood up and walked to the door, looking at his distorted face through the peephole. "You took $50,000 meant for our child and gave it to your 22-year-old mistress while I was in surgery." His screaming stopped. "I didn't ruin you," I continued, my voice as sharp and sterile as a scalpel. "I just stopped paying for the shovel while you buried yourself. You did this. You did all of this." I heard him stammer, speechless for the first time. "Get off my property," I said and hung up. He was still standing on the porch, stunned into silence, when a man in a polo shirt walked up the path. "Mr. Oren," the man asked. Oren, looking confused, just nodded. "You've been served," the man said, handing him a thick packet of documents before turning and walking briskly back to his car. I watched on the doorbell camera as Oren tore open the envelope. He thought it was just divorce papers, but I saw his face go from red to a ghostly white. He sank down onto my front steps, the papers fluttering in his hands. He was seeing it all. He was seeing that I wasn't just filing for divorce. I was suing him personally for wire fraud for the full return of the $50,000. I was petitioning for the formal dissolution of his sham business. I was claiming 100% of the house, which was already legally in my name, and all its contents. He had no money, no car, no home, and no line of credit. He couldn't even afford to hire a lawyer to fight me. It was checkmate. It took less than a week for the next piece of my plan to fall into place. Ms. Hayes had found Faye's new address, a small apartment back in her hometown, and had a process server deliver her papers. It turned out that Faye's Future LLC was registered in her name. making her the direct and legal recipient of the $50,000. She was now being sued personally for the full amount on the grounds of receiving fraudulent funds. Her panic was immediate. She called Orrin first, and I knew this because he left me a string of furious, incoherent voicemails about dragging innocent people into our mess. But about an hour later, my lawyer's office called me. "You won't believe this," Ms. Hayes said, and I could hear the smile in her voice. "Faye is on the other line, hysterical. She just called us directly. Faye had apparently realized Orrin was a broke, angry man who couldn't protect her. She was terrified of being in court. She's crying," Ms. Hayes continued, saying, "You told me that money was yours. You told me you were already divorced. She's offering a full, immediate return of every cent in exchange for an agreement that we won't sue her personally, and she's willing to testify against him." We met in a small, tense courtroom for the preliminary hearing. Orrin was there, his arrogance replaced by a sullen, pouty anger. He'd managed to find a cheap lawyer who looked just as defeated as he did. When his lawyer spoke, he tried to paint me as the villain. "Your Honor, my client was in a difficult marriage," he droned. "Ms. Winslet is vindictive. She was always cold, obsessed with her work, and emotionally distant." Orrin nodded along, trying to look like a victim. His lawyer then tried to argue that the $50,000 transfer to Faye was simply a marital gift that he was entitled to make. He was starting a new business venture. "Your Honor," the lawyer lied. That was when Ms. Hayes stood up. "Your Honor, we have evidence that shows Mr. Orrin's business venture was, in fact, an adulterous trip, and the gift was a premeditated theft." She turned to the monitor. "I'd like to play a video Mr. Orrin's business partner, Faye, posted to social media." The courtroom was silent as the TikTok video played. We all watched the helicopter tour. We all heard Faye scream about her queen status. And then, loud and clear, we all heard Orrin laugh. "That's right. My boring-ass wife has no idea. Ha." The judge's face turned to thunder. The judge didn't even wait for a full trial. The evidence was so overwhelming that he issued a summary judgment. He looked down at Orrin, his eyes filled with contempt. "Mr. Orrin, I have heard your defense," the judge said, his voice booming in the quiet room. "And frankly, I find it and your actions to be despicable." He slammed his gavel. "Orrin is ordered to repay the $50,000, which was clearly and fraudulently stolen from the joint savings. The house," he continued, "which is already legally in Ms. Winslet's name, is affirmed as her sole and separate property. Mr. Orrin is to have no claim to it." Orrin's face went white, but the judge wasn't finished. "The business, Orrin Consulting, is to be immediately dissolved. All outstanding debts, which I see from this report are significant, are assigned solely to Mr. Orrin, as he incurred them under fraudulent pretenses." Orrin just sat there, completely broken. He was left with nothing. No money, no house, no car, and a mountain of debt from the business line of credit. He didn't even have enough money to pay the lawyer who had just lost his case. 8 months later, I was back at my hospital. But I wasn't in scrubs. I was wearing a blue dress, the color of hope, and I was holding a pair of large scissors. I was surrounded by my colleagues, my boss, and even a few reporters from the local news. The past 8 months had been about healing, about finalizing the legal mess, and about rebuilding. Faye had returned the $50,000 immediately, and my lawyer had made sure Orrin's debts would never touch me. I could have put that money into my retirement. I could have bought a new car, but I looked at it and all I could see was the future fund. I knew what I had to do. I donated all of it back to the hospital, to the place that had been my only refuge. Today, I was cutting the ribbon on the Hope Fund, a grant I'd established for couples at our hospital struggling with the crushing cost of fertility treatments and miscarriage recovery. I was turning my deepest pain into a new purpose, a legacy that wasn't about an ending, but about new beginnings. I finished my small speech, and the crowd applauded. The hospital director shook my hand, and I turned to greet the first couple who would be receiving a grant from the fund. They were young, nervous, and their eyes were shining with a gratitude that made my own throat tighten. This was it. This was the real win. As I was talking to them, my phone buzzed in my purse. I excused myself for a moment and pulled it out. It was a text from an unknown number. I already knew who it was. The message was short and pathetic. You think you're so happy. You destroyed my life. I have nothing. It was Oren. I looked at his words. I looked at the man who had called me a downer when I was broken. Then I looked up. I saw the plaque on the wall with my name on it. I saw the grateful couple talking to my boss. I saw Maria giving me a thumbs up from across the room. I felt a sense of peace settle over me, so total and complete. I didn't feel anger or sadness. I felt nothing for him at all. I deleted the text. I blocked the number. I put my phone away and walked back to the couple, a real smile on my face.